Today, I'm going to be talking about the most effective way to level up every weapon in the game. I'm going to dive a little deeper into it than I did the last time I made one of these videos, talking about how long it takes per gun, ways to make it go faster, ways to amplify just the outcome, and just make grinding the guns to level 50 not feel impossible. Over the last 2 months, I have been grinding for every mastery badge in the game, and within the last week, we have finally hit the last mastery badge for weapons. Currently still working on vehicles, so I'll have to make a vehicle video later on, but the vehicles are extremely more difficult than the weapons in the game. So starting off first, the easy questions and the easy answers. The weapons usually take around 6 hours to get done if you can average around 40 to 60 kills a game. If you're not someone that can do that, since that is what like 0.5% of the player base can do, if you cannot do that, the weapons will take you around 8 to 10 hours to do of consistent playing with only using those weapons. A key thing to think about is whether or not you have either hardware or double hardware XP tokens, or if it's a double hardware XP weekend. That will cut the time in half drastically, taking 6 hours for a gun on average. For me, it would end up being 3 hours to complete a weapon of consistent use. Like, you literally cannot use anything else. You have to use the weapon. You cannot forfeit any other time towards anything else, otherwise it will take even longer to hit level 50. This kind of video is also going, like, you know, its purpose is to inform you guys about how long it also will take to unlock attachments in the game. I'm not necessarily saying this to unlock just badges. I'm talking about this for also unlocking all of your attachments that you want on the guns. If that's something you want, you only have to get the guns to level 40 instead of 50 to get every attachment unlocked for each weapon. The nice thing about that is you don't have to go through an extra 60 to 70,000 XP, which is another 2 hours of playtime. I did the testing in the other video as well. It will be linked in the description below. From levels 1 to level 40, it's about 4 to 3 hours. And then in order to get from level 40 to 50, it is another 2 hours or an hour and a half on top of that. So it will take even longer to do. All these numbers came from Breakthrough. Breakthrough was the biggest game mode that I ended up playing, and it's the game mode that really helped me through it because it is crazy. It's extremely effective at leveling up all of the weapons because of what kind of game mode it is. It's an attack and defend game mode with essentially no limit as long as you have a decent team. And if you're a good defending team but also not that great, the games go on for a very long time, and it's very possible to hit like 60 to 100 kills a game if you're a very good player, which is why I recommend Breakthrough and why I used Breakthrough for over 200 hours of playtime. And Breakthrough is good for all of the primary weapons in the game except for shotguns. There are a few maps that are good in Breakthrough for shotguns, but realistically you want to stay away from Breakthrough when using shotguns and pistols. The best maps for most of the classes and class weapons in the game to probably play, honestly speaking, what I did in Breakthrough was I played a lot of Blackwell Fields, a lot of Siege of Cairo, and a lot of Morocco Valley with a good chunk of Manhattan Bridge. I sort of wasn't playing it for a while I was grinding because of the drone glitch, but because that's gone, Manhattan Bridge is actually a very viable option now, especially if you get defense on that map. A lot of the maps do need to be played on defense. Like Morocco Valley, I would back out until you get defense on that map. Manhattan Bridge, defense only. Eastwood is a very good defense-sided map for Breakthrough. Blackwell Fields is another one that if you're using anything other than a sniper rifle and a shotgun on that map, defense is perfect. And same thing with Siege of Cairo. Defense is better even though you don't get the tank, because obviously you're not gonna, if you're a good defender and you play on B side, you're gonna rack up the kills. And Siege is one of those maps where you can run a shotgun, so I would recommend that there, but don't really touch the shotguns or the pistols. It's really not that worth it until we get to what I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Those are good defender maps and just good maps in general. Blackwell Fields, if you want to get your snipers done, I would only play Blackwell and play attack as much as possible. It is a farm. It is like snipers galore. Even if they're not sniping on the enemy team on defense, it is just so good. You get up on the hill on the first point, or in the first sector, you get up on that hill and you just beam down at everyone with your sniper. It is so easy to level up the snipers on that map, and it's one of the easiest maps to get 100+ kills with any sniper in the game. The only sniper in the game that I did not get a 100 kill game with is the SV98. Out of all of my playthroughs on Blackwell, I 100% recommend it, and I think you guys would really enjoy playing Blackwell. I definitely don't think that it's a viable map for shotguns since second point and third point are pretty bad. And if you want to really optimize it, I wouldn't even put on other maps like New Sobek City, Operation Firestorm. I would stay away from those maps. I would stay away from Empire State because it's really not that good of a map. It's a little more annoying to play than some of the other ones, but it can be good on defense. Attack is terrible. That's my breakdown for the maps for Breakthrough. Now, for King of the Hill, which is the most crucial thing ever for leveling up weapons. Domination is okay, but King of the Hill is usually the best for weapon XP and longevity in a game, because you can have a game where most of your teammates are standing on the point together, and that game could go on for 15 minutes. A 15-minute King of the Hill game, if you're an exceedingly good player, could get you roughly 60 to 70 kills in 15 minutes. Now, if you're even better, you can get 100, but that's pretty hard to do in a tight game like that, in a game mode like that, which would average you around 10 to 15,000 XP per game, usually sitting around 10,000 XP, which if you're in the 30s equals 2 levels per game, which will expedite the process of leveling up every gun. And King of the Hill is perfect for all your shotguns and your pistols. That is the game mode where I leveled up every single pistol except for the M45A1 or whatever the 1911 is in this game. Even though it's not the 1911 model, it's the gun that looks like it. King of the Hill was the game mode that I played for pistols and shotguns, except for that pistol. It is perfect. I don't recommend playing any other game mode. Any game mode that caps your kill count is a bad game mode. Squad deathmatch, team deathmatch. Rush is not good anymore because they lowered the player count. Strike point obviously isn't good for this. Sabotage isn't good for this. Domination is the next best thing, but because you can't contest score lines in that game mode, it's not worth playing. Whereas King of the Hill, you can contest those score lines, and it just becomes a much better game mode to farm XP. Obviously, all while doing this legit. None of this is talking about using XP farms. I'm not a cringe lord. I just want to play. I just want to play video games and level things up. But I'm just going to talk about the best ways to do it, because I know I've been asked 100,000s of times over the last 2 months how I've managed to level up my guns so fast. And it's simply just I optimize my map pool and my game mode pool to basically expedite the process. For me specifically, Breakthrough and King of the Hill worked perfectly because I average around 50 to 60 kills a game with assault rifle, any primary weapon basically. When it came to shotguns and pistols, I did not. It took a lot longer. And when it came to snipers, it was a lot more kills. And when it comes to the maps, the best maps you want to play when grinding in King of the Hill, Iberian Offensive, Eastwood, Liberation Peak, Saints Quarter, and that's it. Now to break down what weapons to use on each map. Eastwood, I would only use the better of the shotguns here. So I would use the M87 shotgun when playing on this map. Best thing you can do on Eastwood is make sure you're using slugs when it comes to the shotgun. For Iberian Offensive and Saints Quarter, you can take off slugs and kind of just run around normally with shotguns. For Eastwood and Liberation Peak, if you're going to end up running around with shotguns on those two maps, I would definitely sit there and throw slugs on. It's going to make the process so much better, especially with shotguns. As for pistols, every map is fine that I listed off. So Eastwood, Liberation Peak, Iberian Offensive, Saints Quarter. You can even throw Empire State in there if you're feeling it, especially for shotguns. Super easy map to use with shotguns. But for pistols, those are the greatest maps you could use. Literally every pistol is viable on every map in King of the Hill since it's a very close game mode. So that's at least what I would do. And obviously build your weapons around range, because you need to make sure that you're getting as much range out of it as possible to ensure that you're going to get as many kills as possible, because it is a pain. As easy as it is for me to talk about, if you go watch all of my other videos, like if this is one of your first videos watching of mine, go back and watch the entire grind that I did. It is not forgiving, especially when it comes to some of the worst weapons in the game. Kind of take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because the experience is definitely different when it comes to everybody. Obviously, like I always say with my weapon videos, it's all perspective and it's all up to you, the player, to figure out what works for you the best way possible. I figured out what works for me, and that's why I was able to do this the fastest. and how fast I did it, which is why I'm also taking the time to talk about it so that I can give you guys information that you might not know or understand so that you can take that and kind of form your own way of grinding. Like if King of the Hill is what you need, sure, then only do King of the Hill. If bot lobbies is what you need because you don't have thumbs, sure, bot lobby it up. But if you are the average player and you just want to find the best way to get this stuff going so that you can feel like you are progressing, this is how I did it so that it doesn't take you forever. Tick a few boxes off the list. Those are the maps and modes. Now we're going to move on to how many kills it takes to actually get level 50 on a gun, and to dive a little bit deeper into each class. For every gun in the game, it takes roughly around 1,000 kills. For assault rifles, it's much easier because assault rifles invite aggressive play for the most part, depending on the gun. So you can actually get it done a little faster because if you kill an enemy on an objective and kill enemies while you're on the objective, so they could either be on it or you could be on it and killing enemies off of it, you do indeed end up getting more points, slightly more points. It's like an extra 50 points or something like that towards your weapon XP. So the fastest ones were the ARs, the SMGs, the carbines, and the LMGs, because obviously they all invite more aggressive play in a sense, as in like more play towards the point, more kills on point, more kills on enemies that are on the point, and that just makes it go a little faster. When you start walking away from objective kills, the guns actually take a lot longer, which is why shotguns, pistols, and snipers and slower firing weapons that invite more campy playstyles end up taking a lot longer. Which, if you end up looking at my tracker.gg, there are some guns that are level 50 and I haven't touched them, like some of my pistols that are almost at 2,000 kills, because I had to get kills off of the points and I had to play a little safer, as in literally every sniper except for probably the mini scout. Those will take a little longer. So instead of like 8 to 10 hours for snipers, it's more like 12 hours. 10 to 12 hours for snipers would be your minimal time. And they take a long time no matter how good you do. This experience obviously is different for everybody. I'm sure I'm going to see a lot of comments saying, well, the snipers only took me 5 hours. Well, yeah, but I'm sure you had a double XP token on, or it was double XP weekend. Like, there's a lot of factors that go into this. And as someone that's done it all already and has spent the time to write all of this down and dive deeper into it, I promise you that this is all fact. The only thing that could be off is maybe you don't get points when you're standing on the point killing an enemy off the point. That's probably the only BS thing here. Everything else is a fact. Going forward, a way to make the snipers faster, since they're going to take the longest, you're going to need more kills with the sniper. A way to make it better is to use the ADS bolt on it, which I know a lot of people are going to be like, ew, it's 30 points, useless. You don't need a suppressor on snipers. You just need a flash hider. ADS bolt with a 3x to 4x scope on your sniper and start playing a little more aggressive, that will always help you level up a little bit more. And obviously look for more kills on points and not away from the point. Obviously get as many kills as you can, but the best thing you could always do is get a kill on the point because it's going to help you the most with XP. And when it comes to King of the Hill with the pistols, it really is up to the player. The hardest thing when it comes to leveling up the pistols is just having the patience to wait. You need patience. It's not easy. A good thing you can do is you could put on a shotgun or a sniper rifle and go around and one-tap the person with said gun. So preferably the shotgun, especially since you're going to be playing in King of the Hill. You can either use the DB12 or the Saiga because they're both 80 damage weapons that don't necessarily kill on the first shot unless you hit them in the head. DB12 being the only gun that never kills even with headshot damage within 5 meters. You can always run around with guns like that and then obviously quick switch to your pistol and just one-tap them and get the kill. For people that cannot kill from 0 to 100 or 100 to 0 with a pistol, I totally get that. That was my breaking point when it came to the pistols. That was the hardest thing for me, was trying to figure out how I was actually going to get all these kills with the pistol. That's another good thing I definitely recommend. SMGs, I recommend going back into Breakthrough, obviously ignoring the King of the Hill thing. You could use King of the Hill if you need a little bit of a break from the tanks and stuff in Breakthrough, but for SMGs, I would definitely keep it to the smaller sized maps. So I would end up just playing either Siege of Cairo and Manhattan Bridge, or I would play Siege of Cairo and Sobek City, because those are probably going to be your two best SMG maps. As much as Sobek City is rooftop heaven, a lot of the times in the second sector, it becomes extremely easy to kill everyone with an SMG or a shotgun. Manhattan Bridge being the best first point in the game as a defender. So that's another reason why that's even there. Also, some other things to keep in mind is if you're a specific class one trick and you're trying to level up all these weapons. So like if you only like playing engineer or assault, I recommend using the guns designated for each class, because you're going to come to a point where you run into the LMGs, and LMGs are extremely bad on every other class except for the DRS, because the DRS just doesn't count. I recommend switching to assault when you're using assault rifles, engineer when you're using submachine guns, support when you're using LMGs, and recon when you're using sniper rifles and DMRs. Now, there's a reason why I'm saying and DMRs, and it's because you get the spot assist and you get to spot people a lot further away, so it helps you figure out where they are, especially if someone throws down a smoke after you spot the enemy. You're going to be able to shoot him through the smoke and find him because of the little diamond above his head. That's why I totally recommend using recon with DMRs and sniper rifles. Now, LMGs are king for support. The only LMG I would really run on assault or engineer would be the DRS or the KTS, but the bonuses in movement speed and control with the LMGs while you're playing support is just so crucial that I wouldn't recommend actually doing anything else other than just using it with support. And if you don't want to heal anyone, and that's not something that you like to do, as long as you take off the defibrillators, it won't actually tell the teammate that is down that you are a support player. It won't, like when they're down, your name will not show up, so you won't get flamed for standing on top of someone and not reviving him. It's just distasteful, but when it comes to camos, everything is okay. And obviously for grinding attachments, you want the gun, you want the best attachments on the gun. This is how you have to do it. Unfortunately, this is how they made it in the game. It takes a while. The faster you can get 1,000 kills with the weapon, the faster you can move on to the next weapon, right? Or the faster you can unlock all the attachments on the weapon. Moving on to engineer. Engineer is actually the best class for SMGs and carbines, in my opinion. I use all the carbines I ever test and ever use and ever play with on my engineer class, because it's just so good. The engineer class is already just amazing at what it does, especially after getting its class bonuses, since that was bugged since launch. So I always just run my carbines with engineer as well as my subs. The only carbine I wouldn't run with engineer is AK-205. Everything else is perfect or engineer. Nothing really special there. You obviously don't get bonuses for carbines or DMRs, but just they're better with some classes than they are with others. And same thing with shotguns. Since you're gonna play a lot of King of the Hill with shotguns, I would actually use the support class, because it pays to have extra ammo. It pays to be able to throw down an ammo bag or even the wall during King of the Hill. Anytime you play King of the Hill, I totally recommend support over everything else. It's the most useful. Unless you like flanking, then assault, because you can put down the spawn beacon. Other than that, not worth it. That's 90% of this already done. Assault rifles need to stick with assault. You could throw on a few carbines like the QBZ, the SOR 300 SC, the M417 and the M277, or the M4A1 into the assault group. But if you're going to do it in breakthrough, just play engineer, because it's so strong against the tanks that it's way better than anything else. But if you're someone that can't focus on just killing the enemies when there's tanks around, then I would switch to assault, because you don't really want to be throwing out your RPG as often as you normally are as an engineer. It's like if you are an engineer main and you play it well, I would just ignore engineer while going for this grind until you're on the SMGs. That's just my opinion, because I'm someone that ends up pulling out my RPG no matter what I'm doing, especially when it comes to grinding. So I think it's just better to stay away from it until you have to use the SMGs. That's really opinion based. Everything else is like actually like well thought out and thought about. This is just something that I thought of right now. And then obviously the best thing to do is wait for double XP weekends and kind of go crazy with it, because if you can optimize it well enough and get each gun leveled up enough, going through it on the double XP weekend is probably going to be the best thing you can do. And something that I did not specify at the beginning of the video, but I want to specify now, is the smartest thing you can do if you actually want to get this done and not lose your mind is get every single gun to level 30 first, then move on from there. It will feel so much more refreshing and rewarding to go from level 30 to 50 instead of level 1 to 50. You won't experience massive weapon burnout like I did. The weapons will always feel refreshing and new when you use them, minus the bad guns in the game. SOR 300SC, AK 205. SOR 556. Those guns will feel refreshing to go back to after using all the good guns and even the shitty pistols, other than the M444, the 357 trait, the 1911. So that is what I would do in a perfect world, is go for level 1 to 30 and then so on from there for the rest of the weapons in the game. But I think I explained it all pretty well enough. Genuinely, the best thing you can do is breakthrough. And another thing that I want to talk about is when you get to DMRs, build your DMRs like they're battle rifles. So essentially make them so similar to an assault rifle that it's almost indistinguishable, right? You want it to be a fast ADS, fast fire rate, and fast time to kill. The ones that are actually really good at that are the SVDM and the LMR. The SVK and the EMR are a little more tailored to sitting back and almost being like a sniper. So they're a little harder to use or a little more annoying to level up. They take a little longer. So what I recommend is try to find builds for the SVK and the EMR that are catered towards aggressive play, because to level them up fast enough or fast enough in everyone else's eyes, obviously not in like, you know, speed wise, but like fast enough so that you don't get bored of the weapon, best thing to do is build it like an AR so that you can get a little closer, you can get some kills on the point, you can farm a little more XP in your games and make it just feel a lot more enjoyable to essentially play with, because they're not fun to play with. I think every DMR user in this game can agree they're really not that fun to use. They're kind of a little weird. And the only great one is the SVK. Obviously, the SVDM is really good, and the EMR can be really good if you use it. The LMR is like a very specific use weapon, and it's not that good. But the SVK is obviously king of DMRs, but it's more so for sniper play. And I don't think a lot of people are really enjoying the DMRs because they have an identity crisis right now. They're all extremely different from each other, and none of them are really that good, except for the SVK. So, with that being said, the best thing you can do is just build them to fit aggressive play and level them up and move on until they're buffed or changed or whatever's going on with them. Because in my opinion, that's how they feel, and I've heard a bunch of people say that. For the real DMR players, I'm sure you guys are enjoying that they have no glint and you could just lay down in the corner of the map and shoot at the snipers and they can't even see you with your 6x thermals on your SVK. Yeah, that's probably really enjoyable, but other than that, I don't think they're good. So that's at least how I leveled them up. That's at least what I recommend. I mean, you're gonna run into problems, but again, the faster you get 1,000 kills and the faster you can play on the point and the better you play on the point, the faster you get that gun level 50. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I covered all the bases. I feel like I talked about all the guns, all the weapon classes, and everything you guys need to worry about and do. Obviously, make sure you stay away from shotguns and breakthrough. Play King of the Hill for your shotguns and pistols, and everything else will be totally okay. If I missed anything and you want me to cover something else in another video in the future, let me know in the comments below. I feel like this talked and shared a little more than I did in my last video and that I made like this, and I think that this will help you guys a little bit going forward, especially if you're interested in grinding the weapons or had an interest in grinding the weapons. Hopefully it stops you from grinding every weapon in the game because they take so long. Thank you guys for watching the video. I hope this helps. If it doesn't help, I'll never make another one again. If it does help, thank you guys, and thank you for the support. Like I said, if there is something that I missed, or you just want to give me any kind of feedback or anything like that, or have a question or an idea, feel free to comment below. I read them, and if there's enough that I missed, I will talk about it in a future video. If you guys want map guides, I'm totally down to do that. Just let me know as well. And yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.